Welcome, everyone, to Cafe Esoterica Radio for another edition of the best metaphysical, spiritual, holistic guests on web radio and now live broadcasting on YouTube. So hello to my YouTube watchers. We have a great show tonight with Shaman Victoria Carella, and Victoria will take your calls in the second half of the show. So just let me know you're in there. Say something hi in the chat. Say something in the chat room, and we'll begin live in about let's see, about 7 minutes. We go live on Blog Talk Radio. So let me go back and just speak to my guest, Victoria.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, you're there. You can hear me well, and I can hear you, so that's great. So what's going to happen, Victoria, as the show, this is how the show works, basically, is if, again, I let people watch me do the show live on YouTube, okay? So we have two things. And but it's important that my guests call in on Blog Talk Radio because that's where the...
6 minutes.
You're going to hear this till we go live. Okay, we're not live on Blog Talk Radio yet. It counts it down. It's annoying, but it helps really if you, because then you forget, you know. Oh, I see you. You're in there. Hi, Victoria.
Yes.
Okay, you see me looking. I'm looking over here on this side because the other computer. I'm working with two laptops, and Blog Talk Radio is on this other computer here. Look. Okay. Here you can see it. There it is. See, that's what the show looks like. So here you see me, the host. This is you online waiting. Okay, this is the whole. This is the promo about it. Here's the music I piped in. I've got to open the chat room, which I'm going to do right now for because we do have people come into the chat room on Blog Talk Radio. And hang on, I forgot to do that. Hold on. Let's just get that going.
5 minutes until showtime.
Right. Okay.
So you can hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. And you wanted to do
It's called an
Icaro. Okay, well, I'm going to explain it to the audience and then I'll let you do it. But first, so let me give you the promo. This is how the show works. So the basically it's like a theater. You know, the lights go down, the curtain goes up. When you hear Blog Talk Radio say it's 3 seconds to showtime or whatever, then you have to be quiet because anything you say will go out over the music. Okay, because we have introduction music, music to bring everyone in, open the show. And then I welcome my guests. I welcome my audience and I talk about my previous guest. And then I talk about the show news, what's coming up, guests in the future, next week's guest, all that stuff. And then I go into you and your bio, and then I'll bring you up. So I'll say, welcome, Victoria. You'll know when you're brought up. You'll know because I'll say, and I can mute your mic until then. Okay, that can be part of that if we need to. So anyway, so I just want to say, because I see a couple people now watching. Hello, Alina. Hello. Thank you for coming on the show. Coming into our chat box here at Cafe Esoterica Radio. We're going to go live on the Blog Talk Radio in just a few minutes. Let me just welcome everyone in that chat room. 3 minutes to show. 3 minutes to show. Welcome. So let me just do that. You'll hear me typing away. Sometimes I have to type while you're talking, Victoria, but it's not because I'm not listening. Okay, I just am one person doing all this, so I have to sometimes. Okay. That's fine. Okay. Hold on. My guest is. You excited?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good, good. Do be. It'll be fun, and it goes by. My guests always say to me, "Oh my God, it went by so quickly. I can't believe it." And it does. 2 hours, and you think, "My God, where'd the time go?" But it's fun,
I also I like to read maybe one or two of my poems also.
Yes. Okay, I'll leave time for that. I promise you. Okay, I actually wrote that into my script, if you believe it or not. So often I tune into it's a weird thing because I'm psychic myself. I tune in as I'm writing the script, and I do prepare a script for every single not client, sorry, guest. Because it just helps me. It helps me to navigate it, and make sure I get the things in I want to get in, so I don't forget websites and points of interest and what have you. So, but we have a really great show, and you are fantastic. And I will, this is my joy to make you aware for people who may not know about you. And you're fine with people calling in and asking questions.
Sure.
I usually let them. I'll tell you my method. This is the method to my math. 1 minute, and then we have to listen to it. Okay. So I always let them call in. I let them call in, and if the show is going really slow or there's whatever, then I'll take callers before. But I like to let my guests be known, and if they're not known, then guess what? Unfortunately, then why are they on the show? Just to feed back people free information? I don't work like that. 35 seconds. So second hour, they get to talk to you. How's that?
That's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to mute your mic.
I love to share the medicine.
Okay, thank you. So let's have a great show. 23 seconds to live. Victoria, thank you so much for being on the show. I'll bring you back up when it's time to introduce you. Here we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. BlogTalkRadio. Welcome to Cafe Esoterica Radio on BlogTalkRadio. With your hostess with the mostest, metaphysician, psychic medium, tarot reader, author, astrologer, past life regressionist, Shawn Cohen. That's me. Live in London, England. I invite you to come on in, relax, pull up a cozy chair, or get comfy on the couch and listen to wonderment. Drink in your favorite libation, a cappuccino, a latte, or perhaps a herbal tea, and savor a warm cup of knowledge as we transform, enlighten, and awaken your soul with unique guests from the mind, body, and spirit genres, practitioners in the know, enlightened guests, deep discussion, magic, metaphysics, and mirth are always on the menu here at Cafe Esoterica Radio. So come on in. If you want to call in and be part of the show, we welcome your call. The number to call is outside the United States, you'll have to dial 001. But inside the United States, you dial 516, area code 387-1809. And scroll down to the bottom of the landing page, and you'll find our chat room. Come on in, participate in the chat room. If you want to sign up for a free listener's account on Blog Talk Radio, you will then be able to display your name in the chat room. But either way, we welcome you. Our website is www.cafeesoterica.wixsite.com/radio show. And if you'd like to be on the show, please do email Shawn at cafeesoterica@gmail.com. We go live every Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. UK time, 2 to 4 EST, 2 to 4 in the afternoon, and 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Pacific Coast, and worldwide. Your table is reserved.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Cafe Esoterica Radio with your hostess, with the mostest. That's me, Shawn Cohen, and I'm here in London, England. Even though we're heard worldwide, and my guest today is the amazing shaman, Victoria Carella. And Victoria is in Arizona, I believe. So, my guests are from all over the world, really. But we do get a lot in the UK because I'm in the UK, and we do get a lot in America, the most, probably the most. And I'm very proud of that, actually. We do have people from other parts of the world who've been my guests: Israel, Hungary, even India, so South Africa. Just scroll through the archives and you'll see. But what I love the most is that we're heard worldwide. So I'm very, I want to just say a big, warm, global hello to people who are listening to this show, who are hungry for truth, who are looking to find answers that they can't find anywhere else. Or maybe they're seekers themselves, they're light workers, and they need support. All our light workers are burnt out these days. There's so much going on. I mean, if we look at the transits, I've had so many wonderful astrologers on. And if we look at the transits of what's been happening, we've had some very heavy stuff go on all last summer. And now Venus, is retrograde. And weirdly enough, we've got something interesting coming up. That full moon in Taurus is going to be connecting very strongly within a degree to Uranus on the 24th. That's the day before next week's show. And my next guest is a beautiful astrologer, and I was a guest on her show. And her name is Sasha Niella. And Sasha will be our guest. So we'll be talking about some of this craziness going on astrologically and how it's really affecting so many people, so many people. If you're a Scorpio, you've been through it. If you're a Taurus, you've been through it. If you're a Libra and an Aries, you've been through it. If you're a Capricorn or a Cancer, you've been through it. Even Aquarians. So who hasn't been through it? I don't know. Not many, really. Not many. But tonight, and I just want to say before we begin tonight's show, as I always do, a huge welcome to my gorgeous twin flames. Twin Flames Unite. Leisha and Chris were my guests last week. Their show was beautiful. They are two gorgeous souls, light workers, here to help anyone on the twin flame journey. And what is the twin flame journey? Two souls that were created as one, separated, and through incarnation after incarnation, come back together. And the road to love is never easy. True love, eternal love. But once you get there, it's beautiful. And they were just sharing their experience last week. And I would definitely recommend listening to that show. And I just want to give a big kiss to them. I love them both. They're both great. And thank you for being our guests last week. If you want to look at their videos on YouTube, please go to Twin Flame Unite, and you'll find loads of them. And they give a lot of help for all you lovers out there trying to find your way home to your twin. Now, I'm putting on my spectacles so I can read my script. I have a beautiful guest coming up in about 2 seconds. And her name is Victoria Carella. She is a shaman. What is a shaman? Well, Victoria is going to share all her information about what a shaman is, what they do. We're going to find out about how she works with people to open up their consciousness and help their consciousness evolve, I want to read her bio, so let me do that. Let me just read her bio before I bring her up. So, in her words, I am a mystic, master shaman, master of human consciousness, master medicine woman, visionary leader, transformational teacher, poet, artist, and author. My working in mysticism, consciousness, and shamanism has taken me from the American Southwest to the jungles of Mexico, to Europe, to Mongolia, to Egypt, Greece, and Tunisia, and to Peru and the Peruvian Amazon. I'm going to read it all, folks, because it's so powerful and so amazing. I can't leave any of it out. But so forgive me for 1 minute, Victoria, before I bring you up. I apprenticed with a master or maestro in ayahuasca shamanism in the Peruvian Amazon and cannabis shamanism in the eminent and legendary lineage of Don Julio Lirano Pinedo. I'm sure I didn't say that right. And Don Alberto Torres de Villa. I focus my work on authentic disciplines of shamanism. Having been given the title Master Shaman, I guide people into shamanic states of consciousness to connect to their true selves as I take them on the journey of healing and transformation. I now work with the sacred teacher, medicine plant cannabis. I have transformed cannabis shamanism into an accessible spiritual practice. I only practice cannabis shamanism in states that have made the medical and/or recreational use of cannabis legal. I am a master shamanic guide for those that wish to use cannabis in a ceremonial setting. I have stumbling over my words tonight. I have written a book which was published on Amazon to 5-star reviews. It is titled Journeys, an Exploration of Being. This is a poetry book about an exploration of being. It is an exploration of consciousness. It is a journey, one insight into what it means to be a fully aware being. Journeys is truly a movement through time and space of an individual and her spectrum of consciousness, insight, and growth. The author shares her most intimate journeys of those who are also willing to take the plunge into that great journey, all done through the elegance of poetry and of rhyme. You can buy Victoria's book on Amazon. It's listed there. Welcome, my God, welcome, Master Shaman, Victoria. How are you? Welcome to Cafe Esoterica Radio.
Shawn, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, and I thank you for everybody who's listening.
You're very welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well. And I'm just turning. I'm just turning. Don't mind me. Keep talking and just turning it so we can get your voice from one computer to the other. So
what I'd like to do is
yes.
Open our session with an Ikaro, and an Ikaro is a sacred medicine chant.
Okay.
It's not a song. It's received by the shaman from the medicine spirits.
That sounds wonderful.
And it's channeled by the shaman for the purpose of guiding the movement and direction in the space. And it deals with holistic healing of mind, body, and spirit. And so I'm going to, because the shaman, they work with spirits, and everything you can identify as separate from yourself is a spirit, and it has its own being, and it has its own energy center. And so this Ikaro is calling in hummingbird medicine.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go.
Here we go.
Pika, 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 flor, pika, flor. 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 Arco-iris, 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 pika, flor, pika, flor. Vuela, vuela, 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 pika, flor, pika, flor. Flores, flores, chuchuawasi. Flores, flores, kamamamuri. Flores, flores, capiorona. Flores, flores, aya uma. Pura, pura medicina. Pura, pura, vista divina. picaflor. Arcoiris picaflor, picaflor. Vuela, vuela, picaflor, picaflor. Hi, nine, 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 nine. Hi, nine, nine. Hi, nine, 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 nine. And so that's calling in hummingbird medicine.
Beautiful.
Just to bless the space, and it's to bless the space and to shape the space and the geometry of the space and to have it open for everyone to receive the medicine, the hummingbird medicine.
Wow. So what is the hummingbird medicine?
The hummingbird medicine itself is it's what the energy that the hummingbird will bring into the space. They deal a lot with color medicine, the colors on them. That's what the arcoiris is. It's rainbow medicine.
Okay.
The colors of divine wisdom. Your red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. It's arcoiris, arcoiris. 7 colors of divine white light. 7 colors
Wow.
of light. Teach us divine wisdom. Red, yellow, orange, green, purple, green, blue, indigo, violet. So it calls in that color medicine. It calls in for straightening of the energies of their chakras and for the flow of energy to be unimpeded as it moves through your energy centers. It's also it's just a beautiful medicine. It's various people have different interpretations, but it's just working with that energy and bringing in color medicine. And the part where it goes floatus, floatus, that's calling in the different tree spirits that the hummingbird will feed off of. Especially in the Amazon, they work with very strong tree medicine spirits, and this is calling on the hummingbird to bring those spirits also into the room and to feed on the flowers of the medicine. So,
Well, it's
that's
beautiful. It's
pretty much.
Go on. It's beautiful. I'm thrilled you did that for us. Thank you so much. Now,
And when we're done, I also have one that we can, when we're done with the show before closing, I'd like to close with one also.
okay, that's fine. Now, Victoria, just because we like to interview people on this show to find out, say someone never heard of a shaman, what is a shaman? And what is the
Okay.
difference between a male shaman and a female shaman? Or is there no difference?
Okay, I'll start out with saying as long as there's been humans, as long as the human species has been, there have been shamans. Shamans are that guide and that person between the tribe and the community and the spirit world. It's the person that is the healer for the community. It's the person that is the teacher and the holder of knowledge. And shamanism self transforms belief to knowledge, and you move from delusion into clarity. A shaman is a guide for others. They help keep others moving through the transformative process out of stagnation into motion. It's the connection to spirits maintained in the transformative process, and this is mainly done through ceremonial context and with use of sacred teacher medicines plants. And it's to help people start shedding the layers. I mean, ever since we've been in the womb, we've been collecting the stories, and they've been put on us one by one. So we have so many layers on that we've lost the connection with our true inner self and our origin consciousness. So it's a process of helping shape the space. That's what the Ikaro does. The shaman works with the medicine spirits, and this is a connection with the medicine spirits to help move the geometry of the space and to help the people continue to move through the process. And it's to keep them into motion, and again to start being able to release. And there's nothing that's right or wrong way to do it. When a person's ready to release, they will. And as they release, they keep shedding, and they're able to expand their consciousness. They're able to open up to more medicine, and they're able to receive more knowledge. And we're able to start releasing belief systems and dogma, and then we start getting away from judgment and competition. And because you don't need a belief system when you know something. And then because especially when it comes to things like fear and doubt, which we all have, which is part of this transformative process, is to work through that. is the fear and doubt again starts getting you into belief systems, and then people start holding on to dogma, and then it's I'm right, you're wrong, this and that, and then it gets into that. All these crazy things, and so what this process is just again starting to release, letting go of these stories, and to be able to pull back the veil and to have clarity in your inner vision, clarity in your heart center, and clarity in all your centers, and be able to start to react to life in a whole different way.
Okay,
and
let's.
those things that put you in opposition to other people and other things.
Okay, Victoria, you've given us a lot to take in on board, right? So we're going to break it down because remember we have people listening to the show who never maybe even heard of a shaman or what they do, or so they're taking it all in at once,
Sure.
and we've got plenty of time to discuss it. So let me go back. I like to find out. It's me. I'm curious. I like to find out where my lovely guests, where they first sort of heard the call. Now, some people, they're born that way, and they just from the get-go, they're just that little black sheep in the family that says, well, I feel this and everyone else feels something else. Or they are an incident, a trauma, an experience woke them up, or they became curious about more things, and they pursued a path. So I'm saying shamanism, maybe it's shamanism, I'm pronouncing it wrong, but where did you first? I'm just curious. Let's go back to your teen years. Let's go back to your early 20s. Where did you first? I want to say get curious about.
Sure,
You
I
know.
understand, and I would say I'd go back further than that. I would say I was born that way.
Okay.
Always that searching soul, that searching spirit, and I'm wondering, why was I born in the first place? Why did the one once separate me into becoming to this human body? And, missing that connection and trying to understand that. And then through the teen years and then 20s also, that searching. And then, of course, going through college, getting my degrees and getting a job, you have to start living in that world, you start to lose a little bit of contact with that. And but then again, it hit me. The spirits basically came and said, it's time for you to get back on the path and get back on track. And the spirits basically guided me to where I received my training. And
so that's that's a huge leap. That's a huge leap from I'm doing my day job to boom, the spirits came. So let's
well, because I was doing both at the same time because I still had to support myself. So that was definitely a difficult position where you're doing this training and then you have to actually go back in the workplace and conduct yourself and being able to communicate with people and do your everyday job was a challenge in itself.
Yes, many of us are still doing it. Many people out there are still doing it. It's like it's you got to be the straight person. I use that terminology, but like the you have to take care of the practical, but yet your soul is the spiritual. And so okay, when you said the spirits came to you, I've had visitations from spirits. I'm a medium, and I've had visitations from angels and archangels. And when people talk about these things, it's like, what did you, or so when you say spirits, can you tell me, if you don't mind, and you don't have to answer any of my questions, but I'm just curious, what spirits are you talking about that came to you and said it's time to get back on the path?
It's just spirit with a capital S. It's not a particular name on it. It was just spirit with a capital S. Basically, hit me on the side of the head, tell me to wake up, because if you don't, you're just going to keep dying inside.
Okay, so what was the next step? I mean, I know it's arduous, and you want to talk about other things, but I think it's so important for our, people look up to. Sometimes people look up to I see this all the time in my work. People look up to people who are psychics or, even holistic doctors or whatever, they don't realize that, we're just regular people like you and you and you and you. We were born, maybe we chose to come in and share our knowledge. But, if there's someone out there, which is why I do this show, who's thinking, I'd really like to do that. How did she get started? you know this is really important for them to hear that you can do it too. And
Of course.
so so
Well, of course,
go on.
for me, I didn't go directly to the Amazon. There was much traveling, as you noted in my description about places I traveled and searching out knowledge
Right.
and wisdom. But as far as the becoming the master shaman, I will tell people it's a very arduous process, and it's not something you do overnight, and it's not something you do online. It's something that you do in person, and it's very difficult, and it's because you're talking about completely and basically going through physical death and being reborn in your shaman body, and going through all these things that you have to go through all of this, and it takes years, but there's no, that's not everybody is destined to be in that position. So anybody can connect with spirit. The training in master shamanism is so I can act as a guide in a certain context to be able to help other people along in their process through the work that I do and the manner that I do it. And again, I'm not saying it's better than anybody else's way they do something or how they want to connect with spirit. It's there's nothing comparative about it. It's just the process that I went through, and it's spending a lot of time, like it's in a foreign country. That was when I went there. I went there by myself in the Peruvian Amazon, and the first time it was a bit scary because I'd never been there, and I'm traveling to myself, and I'm going to use the sacred teacher plant ayahuasca, which is extremely powerful, very, very powerful, and it's it was scary, and working through those first ceremonies were extremely difficult because you start releasing. It can be difficult, but I was fortunate to be working with a group of master ayahuasqueros, which are master ayahuasca shamans that were very powerful and a very strong lineage. And I now use cannabis, which I know a lot of people use it recreationally. I only use it in ceremony, and I only use it in ceremonial context because it's a very, very powerful sacred teacher medicine plant, and it's been used for thousands and thousands of years as a teacher medicine plant. And when it's treated respectfully, and when it's used in ceremonial context with the guide that is trained in it, it's very transformative, very healing. But it's done, and it's not as difficult as ayahuasca. It's a very gentle movement through the space, and which I prefer doing with people. And so I would say that for people that are using teacher plants who are considering their use, because there's many, it's just not cannabis or ayahuasca, there's peyote, there's mushrooms, there's ibogaine, there's all kinds, but that you approach them with the proper respect. So these are teacher medicine plants, and they've got wisdom to share, and they should, and they've given up, let's say, their physical existence as a plant to be able to enter into your body, to work with you and to connect with you, to be able to open you up into altered states of consciousness where transformative processes and healings can take place. It was very quick speed. And then they become part of you, but it's really to learn to respect the medicine. And I think that's really important for people to do that, is to respect these plants and their use. And it's sharing. Everybody there's no right path or wrong path. And this is the path I chose. And I thoroughly enjoy it because I love sharing the medicine, the unending beauty, and the you had mentioned that in your introduction where, there's so many light workers are very tired. But if you look at it this way, that we are in an infinite space, and the unending beauty means just that. There's an unending source of supply of energy for everybody to tap into. And it's just becoming centered in your heart center, where you quiet the mind and you become in a place of balance, peace, and harmony and serenity, and then you can connect to that energy source to continually fuel you and the work you're doing. So it's important to do that, to make that connection, to keep that energy charge going so you don't get depleted. Because when you become depleted, you're open and you become, for negative energies to come in, which you don't want. So you want to keep yourself charged, and you want to keep yourself grounded in any type of shamanism work or light work or energy work. The importance of being grounded to Mother Earth, it's really critical because it keeps you centered. It keeps your energy centers in alignment and allows the energy to move, and it allows you to draw up from Mother Earth, from Pachamama, from the source of all life, that we only exist because of this energy center that we're connected to, that to have that grounding so that you're always centered and you're strong, but still flexible. You don't want to be rigid. You want to be flexible and movement, but always grounded. So these kinds of things, it doesn't have to be shamanism. It can be any kind of energy work that you're doing.
Okay, Victoria, you know what? It's always amazing how quick it goes. We're actually now we've arrived at our first musical break.
Okay.
So it just gives people a chance to go get a nice herbal tea or a cup of coffee or whatever they fancy, and we will be back with Shaman. I stand corrected because I was saying shaman, but shaman.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Okay. Okay. Well, I like shaman. Sounds nicer. Shaman Victoria Carella. And folks, we'll be back in 4 minutes. Now, because of copyright laws on YouTube giving me some jip last week, 2 weeks ago, I'm going to mute the YouTube so you don't hear the music. If you want to hear the music, go to BlogTalkRadio / Cafe Esoterica Radio, and you'll see the live broadcast. And it is A Horse with No Name by America. And the reason I chose that, of course, is because I used to live in California, and believe me, I know that vibe. I know that vibe well. And so we'll be back, folks. I'm going to mute my YouTubers. Just hang in there. We'll be back in 4 minutes. Keep writing in the chat room. I do see loads of people there, and I welcome you all. And here we go. Okay, everyone, we're back. Let me just put the speaker up here. Oops. Hello, we're back. YouTube. Hello, and we're back with Victoria. Hi, Victoria. So I hope everyone enjoyed that little song. Don't want to get sued. All right. So I have a couple questions here, Victoria, and I hope you don't mind. It's just, I'm curious myself. I've never done, I mean, when I was a hippie, I'm 62, man. I saw it all. Peace, love, and rock and roll in the 70s in America. I grew up in Pittsburgh and I lived in California. I went to university, college in LA, and I was living out there in 1974. So you can imagine it was a hip place to be. And everyone who was anyone was smoking pot. Let me just say that, okay? So, what is the difference between, as you mentioned, this? And we're going to trip the light fantastic here and find out the truth. You know, I don't indulge in that anymore. I did that when I was a teenager, or in my early 20s. Once I got into spiritual work, I never did it again. And it's very interesting that now lots of people, include and many, of course, the shamans have been doing this since the year dot, as you said, working with these energies. So, is ayahuasca like LSD? Curious.
Okay, I would differentiate between your natural holistic plant medicine and just chemical derivatives. They're two different energy sources.
Right.
When you get into things like DMT or LSD or mescaline, where you're actually just deriving the chemicals, it's different. And when you're working with teacher medicine plants, you're working with a holistic energy system. You're working with pure spirit. You're working with that energy. And I know perhaps a lot of people use these different medicines to get their hallucinogenic effect. But again, that's just part of the process. It's not the end result. Even in ayahuasca, it's very visual. It's very visionary. But that's not the point of it. Those visions are there to be gateways into consciousness. And so these visions aren't the end result. They're part of the transformative process. If you get stuck and lost in the visionary part of it, the visuals, you kind of get lost in the story. And the point is to move beyond that stagnation, beyond the story, into movement and transformation. Yes, I did many experiences with LSD and every other type of substance. But the teacher medicine plants, again, are just a whole different thing because you're working with pure medicine, pure energy, spirit. And when I say medicine, I'm talking about that pervading all source of energy, oneness, love, whatever you want to call it, that makes up this universe. That's the source of all. And these teacher medicine plants are what connects you with that source and through the medicine. And when I say unending beauty, that's exactly what I mean. It's unending. It's an unending source because it's the universe is infinite. The source of energy is infinite. If you open up your space to that energy and to that medicine, it's that infinite source, and you can release, your burdens and your suffering and all that to that. You don't need any of that. But again, working with teacher medicine plants, again, which humans have done since they've been humans. In fact, there's many theories about that's how we became human, was through the use of these teacher medicine plants and the connection with our altered states and pure consciousness. That it's just different. It's a more holistic approach. It's mind, body, and spirit. It's a transformative, a holistic transformative process. And I'm not putting down people that want to use these other types of, the LSD or the DMTs, that type of thing. I'm just saying for my own self and for my practice, the teacher medicine plants are much more holistic. And again, if you use them with respect, they'll gently move you through. Ayahuasca is very powerful. It works a little different. That's why I prefer cannabis. And so it's not trippy, it's not that type of thing. It's working in consciousness. It's working with connecting back to our true selves. It's that type of thing that the teacher medicine plants are able to open doors of perception for us.
Mm. Because you can imagine it is, and it's good to have the explanation and understand the difference, because there are a lot of people from my generation who did all that stuff. I didn't do it personally, but I certainly smoked my share of pot in my teen years. And whether it gave me an altered state of consciousness, I don't know. Probably on some level, probably. But for sure, people, the Moody Blues, a lot of bands say the Beatles, that LSD did it for them. So I'm just curious. That's why I asked. And also, is it dangerous? Is ayahuasca dangerous? Is because you hear different stories. People go into the into the forest of South America or wherever, and they end up sometimes, losing their mind or whatever. So can it be dangerous?
So again, that's when I always caution people to do your research, and make sure you get into a center where the people are properly trained. Look at other reviews and contact other people that may be engaged in this, because it's very important that you connect with the right person who is fully trained in this. And especially when you go into the Peruvian Amazon, it's a different culture. You want to respect that culture. There's a lot of people going there now to experience ayahuasca, and it's unfortunately changing the culture down there. But again, when you travel to these countries, be respectful, and be respectful of the teachers, the guides that are taking you into the ceremony, and be respectful of the plant. There are certain restrictions that even I do when I hold my ceremonies, and for ayahuasca, you want to make sure that you're not using any other substances, that you're not on prescription medicines, that you're in good health.
Well, that's yeah. Those are things I wanted to ask you. What are the, because a lot of people are on medicine, and some of them are on mental health medicines, and
well, you don't want to combine antidepressants or opioids with these teacher medicine plants.
Right.
And when I have people come to my ceremonies, even with the use of with cannabis for that day, there's also things like you don't engage in sex, including self-pleasuring, because you don't want mix of energy, and that's really important when you're doing ayahuasca. So it has to do with your responsibility as a person when you're approaching this, because it's not a game and it's very serious. You're talking about consciousness, and you're talking about extremely powerful work with extremely powerful medicines, and so you approach it, humbly and honestly. And like I said, it's not a game. And so most people that I know are respectful of that, and they go down there and they do their research. But if you go to a proper center, if you're thinking about ayahuasca, again, go to a country like Peru where it's legal. It's not legal in the United States. There are some churches that do it, but you don't, do you know what brew they're using? And so it's a mixture of plants, and the people, the shamans in South America, have been training this for generations and generations. And each shaman has their own admixture that they use with the plants. And so there's a lot involved in it. And so you make sure you respect and you do their rules. And if you're on antidepressants or that type of thing, you have to get off them before you use it. And if you don't, then it's your responsibility, and it's on your shoulders. And you want to make sure that you work with your doctor to get off these medicines before you do that. And there's things like for my ceremonies, there's no eating of animal flesh on the day of ceremony, including fish. I don't want that energy in the space. So there's things to do, but why not? It's a responsibility, and you're approaching something that's very important. So why wouldn't you follow the rules and make sure you're safe. And if you do that, you'll be safe. And if you have the proper, the ayahuasqueros, the proper people, the proper training, you'll be fine.
Do you know, it's very interesting. Let me just say to my audience, if you want to speak to this master shaman who is telling you about ayahuasca and the uses of it and the cautions with it, and to do it properly with the trained shaman, please call 516 area code 387-1809, and we will take your calls in about 15 minutes. Believe it or not, we're coming up to the second hour. Victoria,
Now, let's say it's not just, with the ayahuasca, it's again with any teacher medicine plant. If you're approaching to use peyote, or if you're going to use sacred psilocybin mushrooms,
yeah,
if you're going to use ibogaine, if you're using like Africa, because that's the thing about traditional societies, your indigenous societies are still using these, and they're using them in a respectful manner as part of in ceremonial context. And again, I only use myself cannabis in ceremonial context,
right.
And it's a whole approach and looking at these plants. And when you use them and you're connecting, it should also alter your approach to your life in general. Once you start connecting and you connect to the medicine, the unending beauty, and you start going through this transformative process, it's really important that you integrate. Integration is one of the most important things when you're using plant medicine. Any plant medicine is that you take the time to fully integrate and allow the spirits and the medicine to really become one with your being. And that we also frequently say that after you experience ceremonies with teacher plants, that you don't make any major life decisions for like a month, because you have to let the medicine work in and really fully integrate with your being. And then you have to realize when you come back and you're in such a wonderful, beautiful space because of the experiences that you had, that the people that you come back to haven't had those experiences. And so they're still, they look at you as, as they knew you. And so you have to be compassionate to those people around you. Because they haven't had these experiences. And so you be gentle with the people around you. And you may find out that people that were your friends may drift away because you're now shifting and you're changing. But don't be sad, because you'll attract other people to you. But this should be really a holistic, again, life change for you. And once you integrate that and you've had these experiences, then I would say, what do you do now? What do you do now? How do you approach your everyday experiences with other people? How do you treat Mother Earth and Pachamama? How do you treat all the other inhabitants on this planet who have the same right to be here as humans do? How do you, if you still eat animal flesh, are you sure that those animals are treated well? Do you eat organic food? So you put less pollution onto the earth? Do you try to restrict our use? All these things, restrict our use of plastics. Do you demand that there be renewable energy? Is your energy grid? Do you? I know a lot of people are turned off to the political process and voting, but do you vote? Because that's critical. Because you need people in these positions to make policy statements, so we can start, changing our whole approach to our presence on Mother Earth. So it's a holistic process. It's just not something where you attain samadhi and then you go sit in the cave. I mean, you can do that if you want. But again, you've received this gift. How do you share it with the rest of the space and the rest of the world? And realizing that your presence in the space, by your very presence, you change that space. Okay, so how you want to be careful of how do you speak? Do you speak with love and medicine and oneness? Because your speech sound is creation, and it shapes the space. So you want to be respectful and responsible for what you're putting in the space, and you can see how it's affecting other people. So it really is a whole life change. It's a commitment and it's a life change, but it's beautiful and it's fulfilling.
Someone in the chat room. Oh, I every once in a while, if you watch the YouTube, you see something fly by. So I do get orbs here. I do get a lot, actually, while I'm doing the show. They really show up. Charles Beck in the live YouTube broadcast is saying in the chat room, the shaman experience is a journey without limits, no beliefs, therefore nothing to hold you back from expansion of consciousness and the heart. Do you agree?
Well, that's so true. That's so right on. Because, I mean, in life and the shamanic experience is a journey of consciousness. And if you look at the fact that the space, the universe we live in is infinite. It's limitless. It's always expanding. And so to say you've arrived at a point, I'd say is not true, because you're always have this room to expand and continually to grow. And every time you release some stories, you straighten your crossed energies. That's part of the shamanic process, is uncrossing your energies and straightening them. And you expand your heart center and you open. And the heart center, I'm not referring to your romantic aspect of love. I'm talking about the heart center as your center of balance, peace, and harmony, the center of the 7 chakra system. Once you expand that, you can open and continually receive, and then you raise in consciousness and you evolve. But that's not an end point. Again, it's the process where you're now open to receive more and to understand more and to connect with Sabaduriya, which is divine wisdom and divine knowledge. So it's transformative process. And I wouldn't call it, some people say it's about transcendence. And I say, no, I say it's about transformation. Because there's nothing to transcend. We as beings, everything that is created whole and perfect and beautiful and wonderful. But again, we've collected so many stories that we've lost that connection. So there's nothing to transcend. It's to transform and to reconnect to who we truly are.
Well, that's really powerful. And thank you for sharing that. Years ago, I read a book by Sandra Ingerman called Soul Retrieval. And I'm sure you know who Sandra is, right?
I'm not familiar, actually. Could you say the name again? I couldn't quite hear that.
Oh, Sandra Ingerman. She's a shaman as well, and she wrote a book called Soul Retrieval. And in the book, she goes through all these different. She goes into a sacred ceremony. She goes deep within, and she goes into these different consciousnesses or dimensions, if you will. And she brings back bits of the soul that have fragmented. Is this something you do as well?
Well, that's, again, it's part of the shamanic process and in ceremony. It's because, especially when so many people have gone through traumatic events, it has a tendency just to, like you say, it just kind of shatters and it's in pieces of you can kind of just like separate. And so part of that is, again, bringing you back, bringing these pieces back to complete, so you're back to who you are. And I would say also that, what was I going to say? I guess the thought,
well, why do...
sorry, yeah.
Well, I mean, I actually went and got this done by a female shaman, a shamanka, she called herself, shamanka, here in London, right? And it was very interesting because a couple things occurred in that process. One was the 4-year-old, some part of me at 4 years old had split. Not surprising, knowing my upbringing. And another thing was that I was dating a guy who was into antiques. And weirdly enough, something came up in that session where something was actually attached to a piece of furniture that he had bought. And she did a whole cleansing on that because I was shocked to see that in my own process. But that piece of energy, negative as it was clinging onto that old piece of furniture. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
Oh, excuse me. Well, it's also it's important to remember also that we're holistic beings,
Mm,
and as far as the past and the future existing now exists, the past is a story and the future is a story we're telling.
right.
And so we have these memories. Memories, they can be traumatic events or any event, but they're only memories. And we're experiencing the memory. We're not experiencing the act that created that memory.
Mm,
Because so it can no longer affect you. When we learn in the shamanic process, in the healing process, is to start, releasing, letting hold of the grip on the emotions that we've attached to these memories that are just memories, and to release those. And that's the process of healing the trauma and that's what's important about ceremony and the movement into altered states, because it allows you to move through these traumatic events and to put them in perspective and to release them and to release the emotions that are with them. And I'm not saying emotions are bad or good, but they're an experience. But when they're experienced, you can respect them and then you can release them. And part of the soul retrieval again is to bring these things, these shattered pieces back, so you're whole again. But although you're whole already, but that recognition in yourself that you are whole, and to realize that the memories, that experience isn't now. It's a memory, and they can be worked through and they can be released. And everybody goes through the process in their own timing, and it's not, we're not saying, oh, this should be happening now. When a person is ready to release, they'll release. And if they don't, it's because those spirits are still serving them in some aspect. And we're not judging them on this. But a person, again, it's a personal responsibility, to make a decision, to move forward. And once you make that decision to move forward, you continue moving forward. And if it doesn't work, then you take the time, make another decision, and move another direction. You don't keep running into a brick wall. If it's not working, you make another direction. So there's no judgment involved. And that's why you really learn compassion in this process, because people are going through things. But I always say suffering is not required.
Well, that would be nice because a lot of people on earth think suffering is the way to heaven.
Well, sure.
Sadly,
But
that's what religion taught us.
That's when you get into your belief systems, into your dogma, and to that thing where that apparently is serving them, but it's not required.
Mm, mm. Okay. I'm all for not suffering. I think we've all suffered enough. The human race has definitely suffered enough. We might be, reincarnating for another millennium, but why do we have to go through so much pain and heartache? For me, it just is
Well,
enough.
and part of the shamanic process again is you open up to receive. You have to learn to receive. And people think, oh, it's hard. It's hard for people to open up and to receive love and the medicine and that unending beauty, because it then can transform the geometry of the self to turn from suffering to endless beauty. I mean, what you focus on is what you experience.
Mm.
That's what takes the space. So what you focus on is what you're going to experience. So make that decision to turn from suffering to endless beauty. I'm not saying all of a sudden everything's going to be rosy cozy, but it's your approach to things, and it's your outlook. When you look out, do you see the world as the continual manifestation of love and physicality? Everything that is created from the source, the oneness, love, whatever you want to call it, from that unending beauty. Everything, every single thing.
Mm. Well, and
when you go out and you look, and instead of seeing whatever, you can see the creation of love in everyday life, in the manifestation of everything that is around you.
that's a lovely thought. And on that note, here's what's going to happen now. We've come up to the second hour, top of the first hour, going into the second hour. I can't believe it. See how quickly it went, Victoria? Look
Uh-huh.
at that. This is
Yes.
just amazing. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put out a couple things. Number one, if you want to speak to my guest, which is Shaman Victoria Carella, she will take your calls now. Now would be the time to call because when we come back from this break, uh, we will take some of your calls. Area code 516. If you're inside the United States, that's Long Island, New York. That's where you're calling. 387-1809. And if you're outside the United States, like me, I'm in London, you dial the code to America, which is 001. You can ask questions here in our chat room. I see Sasha's in the chat room now on the my next guest for next week, Sasha Niella, is actually listening. Hi, Sasha. And you hear these little dings coming in. That's notices from Facebook and all that crap coming into the live feed. Drives you nuts. I'm sorry if you hear that little bell. That's I have to fix that somehow. Okay, so that's that. Now, I have another song. I chose some songs. I thought they were interesting. I would have loved to have gotten some really interesting, heavy, lovely, beautiful beating of the drum stuff, but I couldn't find it. So I'm going with the more esoterica, um, magical. All good. It all works. So for our next break, we're going to have a break here. I'm going for something really profound, which is Led Zeppelin. I know you can't believe it, folks. The Battle of Evermore. Think of the battle between good and evil. The Battle of Evermore. And I'll tell you what, it's a fantastic. If you know the words to this, it's all about bringing in the light. It's a very good song. I mean, I love it. It's a great song. And again, my lovely YouTubers, you'll have to Google it and listen yourself separately. I'm not allowed to play music on YouTube because of copyright laws. So I'm going to shut my speaker there just for a minute. We'll be back with Victoria, the shaman, who's my lovely guest on Cafe Esoterica Radio. The Battle of Evermore by Led Zeppelin. Here we go. We're back. Just as Led Zeppelin fades out there in the background. Very interesting song. You should Google the lyrics and see what it says. And we're back with my lovely guest, Shaman Victoria Carella, or Shaman. I'll probably ponder those two, the two different ways of saying it, right?
Shawn, I wonder if it'd be okay if we open the second hour with another Ikaro?
With my pleasure. Go right for it. Go ahead.
Okay. The heart is open, filled with love, filled with love, filled with love. The heart is open, filled with love, filled with love, filled with love. The heart is open, filled with la 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 love. God, one love, one medicine. Release all evil, pain, and suffering. Never, never to dominate the mind. Release all thoughts that are unkind. Open up to what you know, that's the only truth. Open up to what you know, that's the only truth. Focus the mind on truth. Linya mongi medicina, linya mongi medicina, linya mongi medicina, nai 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 nai. So linya mongi medicina is calling on the healing powers of the medicine, just to heal all pain and suffering.
Lovely, beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Victoria. Thank you. You sent me some information about your spirit guides. Being one is a jaguar, and do you want to talk about animal guides and or totem guides? They might be called. I don't know. Some people refer. Does everyone have animal guides? And can you just share with us about them? Really?
I would say that the animal spirits are there to connect with you, but you have to make the connection.
Okay.
You want to open to receive. Most of the animal spirits I received through ceremony, and then through my ayahuasca ceremonies. Black jaguar, Tigre Negro, Medicina, is super powerful. It's a protective spirit, very, very powerful, and you have to know how to work with this spirit because it's, again, very powerful. So when you're working with your animal guides, animal spirits, even an ant is a very powerful medicine spirit. The worker ant always doing, creating, and moving. And so the size of the animal doesn't matter. But there's Mother Eagle, Mama Agalitoini, which is the head of the animal spirits, the head spirits. When I say head spirits, when you're working with spirits, because you can see when you see everything is separate from yourself as a spirit, that there are trillions of spirits. So I, as a shaman, work with head medicine spirits, which are those that command the others. And so, like I work with Papakua, who's the head spirit of ayahuasca, or the Reina Maria, which is the head spirit of cannabis. Mama Agalitoini, Mother Eagle, which is the head spirit of animal guides. But then again, you have a black jaguar. And again, you have to know how to work with these, and you have to know how to have the command over them, especially something as powerful as the black jaguar. You can imagine, you take their properties as a physical animal and you put them in the spirit world. It's very powerful. Wolf, the wolf spirit, which is the pathfinder, another really beautiful spirit to work with. Mother Eagle works with when you release in ceremonial context, or when you're working in your own space, you're clearing your space. She'll remove negative energies from the space for you. You call on her when you're going through, let's say, an event and you've made a release. You've released something that's been very powerful for you to release. You call on Mother Eagle and say, Mama Agalito ni, Todo Mala Spiritu, Chaparingi, Chapkamongi, You're calling on Mother Ego to remove these energies, negative energies from the space. But you ask her to remove it and to release it back to love. You always release everything back to love so that everything can be transformed and everything can continue in its process. Okay, and negative, it's not to put like, a bad or a good label on something. It's just something that affects you in a way that you know doesn't feel good to you. Okay, because when you look at creation and you look at everything is photonic, everything is related to photons and light, and that's how we perceive and see everything. But light isn't just one thing. Light is a whole spectrum going from dark to ultraviolet, and it's one spectrum. It's light. There's no direct just black and white. There's this great whole linear thing of the energies, and so it's again when you're looking at things, it's not to put this label on it to pigeonhole it as bad and good. It's a spirit to energy, and it can only do what it does because that's what it is.
Right.
Okay, and as you work in medicine and light and love, you choose what energies you decide to work with, and you choose when you work with animal guides, and you choose how you're going to work with them. Okay, there's people can work in a dark manner. You can work in a light manner. I work in medicine and light and love, and that's a decision for people to make. So there's many animal spirits out there to work with. There's Mother Elephant, Mama Elefante, just a beautiful spirit with knowledge. It goes generations, and wisdom. They all have something to share, but it's something that you just don't, you have to keep up this relationship. It's like any friendship. You have to keep it renewed and fresh, and you have to connect with them, and you have to commune with them and communicate with them to keep that relationship going. And if you don't, then they're not there for you, okay? Because it's a two-way street, it's not a one-way street. Okay. And that's working with any spirit. When you work with celestial angels, celestial angels, it's, again, that's, or if you work with your archangels, Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Adiel, but it's a relationship, and it's something that requires attention and care, just like any relationship with anyone.
Yes.
And but animal guides they're there for you to make the connection. And many times, and the way to do that is you open yourself up and you call upon. You could call upon Mother Ego, say, bring me an animal guide to work with it, and work on that relationship, that type of thing, to call them in. But there's infinite number of the hummingbird Icaro. The hummingbird is another animal guide and animal spirit to work with. So there's an infinite source, again, of unending beauty and energies and support structure there to work with.
On my scarf that I'm wearing tonight, which you might be able to see on the YouTube, I have, just to show you, look. So there's the bee, butterflies. So butterflies, the bee. I also have the dragonfly, right? And I was and little ladybug right here, little ladybug. You can see her. Maybe you can see her that way. And I was drawn to this scarf for some reason. I haven't worn it in a long time, and I thought, my God, I have to wear the scarf tonight. And I am drawn to some of these insects. I am, definitely. And I have another. So they're probably guarding me in some way. And I have another thing that I wanted to ask you about. Purely selfish, folks. Why not? We have no callers. So please call in. If you're out there, this is your chance now. 516-387-1809 is the call-in number. But what I was going to say, Victoria, from the time I was a child, I have had dreams about lions. Male lions. And
lion medicine, very powerful.
lions female, lions male, lions cubs. I have them all the time. What is there anything you can, I mean, putting myself out there now. What is that about? Do you know? I mean, I have my own guesses about it, of course, as a psychic and
Well, I'd say take the time to connect with that spirit.
Oh, I've
And
connected.
find out what it's about for you personally.
A lot of it is about protection and bravery. I get a lot of protective stuff with it, like we're protecting you, you know. But then I also get the idea that and bravery, right? And the lion pride, you know, it's something about my original family, not my family on this earth. That's the other thing that I have a connection with them. And I don't know why I have that feeling, but I do. It's like
well, that's something to explore.
Yeah. Well, that the lion instead, you know, the lion comes. So, you know, when my daughter was little, I took her to see The Lion King, and I had so many psychic experiences just watching that. You know, that we were in the West End in London and saw the show, and and also I felt someone touch my eye while I was sitting in the audience. I had spirit literally touch my eyelid, like watch, pay attention, you know, for whatever interesting thing that was about. And I also have had dreams about jaguars, and I woke up and saw a jaguar sleeping next to me in my bed, and I was shocked to see that, and then it faded as I came to. So
I would say when you have these experiences with these animals and these protective spirits, is to express gratitude to them.
Yes.
For being there for you.
Yes.
And one thing is always to express gratitude for these gifts that come to us. You know?
Yes. Yes.
I was wondering, you mentioned that there's butterflies on your scarf.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the medicine spirits. I actually have a poem here. If you don't mind, I'd like to read it.
Oh, I'd love to hear. Yes, please. Please do.
Okay, butterfly. A fuzzy little caterpillar crawling along slowly. An insignificant creature, really rather lowly. Passing from leaf to leaf, eating in its time so brief. One day, sensing a change coming on, its desire for eating is all gone. Looking for a special place, it moves along in haste. It knows it must be in the right place at the right time. Why? It knows no reason or rhyme. Determined, it knows no rest, till it finds its one place, the best. The leaf onto it hooks, hanging upside down, how out of place it looks. Wrapping itself in threads so thin, its cocoon it begins to spin. Now all clothed in its special garment, undergoing many changes, this little varmint. So secretive, shut off from all outside view, in its temporary doom, kissed by the dew. Comes one sunny morn, when the caterpillar is reborn. From its cocoon it breaks free, no longer resembling what it used to be. And what a metamorphosis has occurred, be it a butterfly or is my vision blurred? What a grand act has made this mystical change fact. The sun dries her wings, power of flight besprings, and the glistening colors are quite breathtaking, as off she glides, her past forsaking. She flutters above the earth, twirling about in mirth, trying to follow her path. One could get quite dizzy, as she flies here and there, really rather busy. For some time she flies alone, into a fully matured butterfly she has grown. So delicate, yet so strong, flying free, you can see where she belongs. Elusive is she, seen only when she decides to be. Touching down to sip some nectar, you wonder what's going on inside of her. Again she spreads her wings, as the wind a fellow butterfly brings. She flits off this grand friend to greet, dancing in midair they meet. Twirling round and round, in pure ecstasy, they are bound. In their own language, they communicate. Time and suspension as they relate. Off they fly somewhere, their destiny for a time they share. Yet being butterflies, they are totally free, the way most of us yearn to be. That's butterfly.
Oh, that's lovely. Beautiful. I must give you an applause for that. That's just lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, I find them quite magical, butterflies. They're all about transformation, and again, the medium, the mediumship. The end. A lot of people see butterflies when their person that's passed is around. It's a symbol. It's one of the many. I wanted to ask you about dreams because I was mentioning dreams. I do get a lot of stuff in my dreams, and I'm sure a lot of people out there do. So, for instance, with this different spirits, and also with the animal, the animal spirits, the animal totems. Um, do you work with dreams as a shaman? Because a lot of shamans do. So I think I might be wrong, but and what do you do with them? How do you work with them?
First, I would say an important thing to do is when you're getting ready to go to bed at night is to set your dream space. Like when you get up in the morning to set your wake space. And setting space, I mean just setting up your protective spirits, setting up, shaping the energy that you want to come in, any particular spirits you want to call in to work with, because it's really important, to have your protections and your medicine spirits and guides and your animal guides in your dream space as well as in your awake space, because there's no real separation between, what is what, are you dreaming or you're awake, but working in dreams is extremely important. But again, it's like working in your pure consciousness, in your imagination space, which is, again, I'm not speaking of making up things or that type of thing, but the connection with the gateway going through is that you make sure that gateway is protected and safe, and you connect with the spirit to interpret what experiences you may have in that dream space. Because it's symbolic, there's symbolism, and to make that connection so that it's clear that you work again with your spirit guide in understanding the experiences you're having in that dream space. But definitely to set that space before you go to sleep at night. As when you wake up in the morning, you set your day space. The shamans always work in space period, and whether it's awake space or dream space, it's working in that space, that energy space. And if you look at things as being holistic and one, there's no real separation. It's part of the whole being that you are.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? But if you dream about, for instance, a tiger comes to you in a dream, or a bear, or an elephant, you mentioned, would you then say it? I know it's not true in every case, okay, but would you then say that these animal spirits are trying to connect with you, perhaps? Or do you feel that it's the opposite?
If you set your space and so it's protected,
right?
So the spirits are coming in, you know that they're there to work with you. They're not in any kind of opposition to you. They're presenting themselves to you. So take the time to connect with them,
right,
and talk with them. You have to build up that relationship with that spirit that appears in your dream. You have to make that connection because it's a personal connection with the person that they're coming to.
Okay.
What may be for me may not be for someone else.
Right.
Again, it's that personal one-on-one connection that you have with the spirits.
Okay, that's it. Very interesting. I'm sure many people out there would like to try that. Because we are multidimensional beings, and so are animals. Basically, and it's very interesting. When you talked about ritual and ceremony, can I just go back to that for a second? Are you using rattles and drums? What are you using other than perhaps cannabis? Are you using sounds, music, water, bells?
Because you have sound is, and that's what the Ikaro is. It's sound. Sound is creation. Sound is, which why I say it's really important when you speak or sound, because it's a creation. It's creation, and it's based in what it is. And so, in my ceremonial context, when I do ceremony, I have several instruments I use. I have a shakapa, which is a leaf rattle that's used in the Peruvian Amazon, which was there when they do the medicine work. I also have a medicine bowl that I work with that's from the 17th century, so it's actually from the 1600s. So it's a very powerful medicine bowl. It's from Tibet, and it's been used by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas over the last 400 years. So it's a very powerful medicine bowl.
Yeah.
I use a gong. I use drums. I can use rattles. It depends on how the spirit moves me. The spirits I'm working with. What I use. Sometimes the ikaros, like I did through here, are just voice. I would have used a rattle, but it's hard over the phone, the sound it makes. It's what comes as you're moving, and as I'm moving and shaping and the structure and the geometry of the space, how I'm communing with the medicine spirits on what the ikaro is, what instrument I'll be using. I also use chimes that calls in the elemental kingdom, which is really quite nice. And sure, and sound is what you work with as far as moving and creating and taking people through the process.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, I witnessed a couple ceremonies myself, but everyone's different, and I just wanted to, have my audience understand and share, for them to know. Now, why don't you have a website, Victoria?
I have my Facebook page, and on there is where I communicate with people. The website, as far as my book goes, it's on Amazon, so I use that.
Okay.
I find the communications through Facebook and personal communications as being sufficient. If anybody wants to contact me, they can do it through my Facebook page, and I would say, let me know where they heard, they heard from me on your show, so I know where they're coming from on that.
Okay.
And send me a message. I'll communicate with them there. Yeah.
Okay, because one of the things I listed on my script here, which I'm working, people see me looking down, I'm working through my script, is how people can get a hold of you. Because, and if they did get a hold of you, how would you conduct a session? Can you do it over Skype? Can you do it online? Or do they have to be, in Arizona with you? Where can you tell us about that?
I don't do it online now. I don't do it through Skype. I do it. It's personal. People come to where I'm at. That's the preferred method that I use.
Okay.
They're very personal, intimate. Usually, it'll be maybe one guest or two guests. I don't mix people that don't know each other in the space, and it's a very intimate journey. But yeah, it's something that they would. I have traveled to California to hold ceremony, and I have traveled to Denver, to Colorado to hold ceremony. So, and I've also had people come in from other states to participate in my ceremony. But yeah, no, I don't. Right now, I'm not into using like Skype or online to do that. No.
Okay, listen, we're at the top of we're at the bottom half of the second hour. It's 8:31 here as the crow flies in the UK, and that means we take our next musical break before we finish up. Now we have a half hour left after this, or maybe 25 minutes. And we don't have any callers. Anyone in the chat room here on YouTube want to ask Victoria a question, please do. We're going to have another musical break, and you can get some water, Victoria, for your... And we'll be back. This is Nice to Be Here by the Moody Blues, and it sure is. It's all about, it's a very magical little song, so here we go. And we'll be right back with my guest, Shaman Victoria Carella. Here we go.
has just begun. Only start swaying to the breeze that makes for those who violin. As the bees are humming, as the frogs dance strumming, like a guitar with volleyball strings. I can see them, they can't see me. I feel out inside. I can see them, they can't see me. Much to my delight. And it seems worth noting, for giraffes were voting as love began to sing. Sound is coming, they're coming, on the side of the biscuit tin.
Hello.
Hello. Hold on a second. We're back. I have a caller here for you, Victoria.
Wonderful.
Tell us your name and what is your
Hi,
question?
this is Bob. I'm in New York.
Hi, Bob from New York. How are you?
Well, I'm fair to Midland. I'm under home care. I'm a Vietnam veteran, so I'm going through a lot of different things now.
Wow.
But I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
You say that you're a master shaman.
Yes.
How long did you stay in the woods? Did you meet any big feet? And what tribe are you from?
Did my apprentices, I trained for, it must have been, I started about 10 or 12 years ago. I was given my title about 5 years ago. I don't belong to a tribe. I am part of the universal oneness that surrounds all of us. Did that answer your question?
Oh, I thought you were a real shaman. They spend
guess I'm
time
not
in
sure
the
what.
forest. You know,
Yeah,
they spend
no,
time in the forest.
in the Peruvian Amazon, it's jungle.
Yeah, that's pretty big. And the second
Yeah.
question is this: you're a mystic and a transformational teacher. Have you seen the upcoming earth changes through your own mind? And how many people will be left?
Life itself is constant change. The earth is always going to change. Everything that is created is change. Everything is always in motion. Everything is part of the source, and it's all part of the transformative process. So I guess you may be speaking of destruction and death, where I speak of life and love and being and creation and oneness and spirit and beauty and medicine.
So you haven't seen any vision of earth changes?
As I said, I see Earth changing every second and every moment and in every millisecond. Because creation, life is creating, the universe, that source of all, is creating in every moment. Everything is going through change in every second of every day. So yes, I see change constantly. Change is life.
That's for sure.
Does that answer your question, Bob?
Well, she answered the questions. Whether I accept them or not is another thing, but she did answer. I was hoping she was a real shaman and actually saw an earth change that was disastrous.
Would that make
Why
it?
would you think that? Why would you think that? In order for a person to be a real shaman, they had to see death and destruction and negativity. I mean, where was that? Why is that a judgment of anything? Where does even judgment come into it? I mean, we're talking about life as being a continuum, and there's no separation. Everything is in movement, and everything is creation. And the shamans that I work with down in the Amazon, whose lineage goes back thousands and thousands of years, they believe that they were never cast out of the Garden of Eden. They are caretakers of the garden. And they see light and love as the purpose of master shamans and shamans, to bring that to everyone, for them to see the beauty that is around you all the time.
I understand that. I hear what you're saying. Anyway, those were the questions I had for you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for calling in, Bob. And thanks for listening to the show. Keep listening. Thank you very much. Bye now.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Victoria? Some people have in their head the way it's supposed to be. And, how can you not be a real shaman? You just explained 1,001 things that a shaman does. So I'm sorry to say that was a bit whatever.
No, but it's okay, because everybody has a right to express what's in their heart, and everybody has the ability to be transformed and to change if we open up to receive the medicine. It's there for everyone. And so Bob in New York, we set this space to include everyone to be able to grow and to mature in love and in beauty. Like I said, to be just amazed by opening your eyes and seeing around you every second the manifestation of love in the creation of everything around you. To me, that's astounding and amazing to be experiencing this. And I know, especially a lot of people have had traumatic events, and it's hard to work through.
Well, he said
But
he was in Vietnam. That's
it's hard
dramatic
to work
enough.
through. And it's a process. And I never said it was easy. But this is life, and it's the life you have. So I'd say go for it,
I just want to say that he had said that he was a Vietnam vet, and that's pretty traumatic, if you ask me. Okay, let me just positive stuff here to balance a little bit. We have Marguerite in the chat room here in on YouTube that's saying you need to come again. Don't want this to end. She's speaking about you. And
that's really
yes, so there are people out there hearing you and getting you and loving you, and that's what we like to provide. And now we have about 15 minutes left. Now here's how it works, and Victoria, if you don't know, and for other people, so we can chat, we can do our thing for about another, I'd say, 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Actually, that's really pushing it. I'm going to go to 8 minutes. And then I have to do a couple things. And one of the things that I do is I play out certain music at the end. The music I chose is only 2 minutes long, 2 minutes and 23 seconds. You asked me if you could do something at the end, which I will let you do too. And we might do something like that now, actually. And then I always also, before that, I always do a summing up of every show. And it's called In This Metaphysical Moment. And sometimes it's a poem, sometimes it's my take on the what we're talking about. And I write this before the show, so we never know. I never know what's going to come up on the show, more or less. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to put words in my guest's mouth. I don't know what they're going to say. And sometimes it's very similar, so I'm tuned in there, even when I don't realize. And I did write something that is very tuned into to you. Absolutely. So would you like to do some more of your poetry? Would you like to sing the song you wanted to sing, or whatever you'd like to do now, Victoria?
I would like to close. I do have an ikaro, which again isn't a song, but it's a communication between the shaman and the spirit.
Okay.
To close the space.
Okay.
And that'll only take like a couple of minutes. And I can also read a poem if you'd like.
Yes, let's do both those things, and then I will be able to do In My Metaphysical Moment and close the show out with the song that I have for the end. How's that? So that gives you what you need to do and what I need to do.
I can go ahead and read another poem, and then I'll do the ikaro.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. This one's called Rhythm. Walking the street, looking for a rhyme. In my heart, knowing all in due time. Clouds above storming along. Birds communicating with their song. And here I am looking high and low. While all around me, nature is giving a show. Yet what I seek lies not there. It exists, I know, somewhere. Beyond the mother, father permeates. 'Tis a source I must tap in order to create. Father principle, powerful, and with high stakes. A cosmic step I must take. In doing so, what must I leave behind? Am I prepared fully in my mind? The mother principle jealously protects all that lies beyond that which I want to inspect. And so I stand demanding access. Comes the question, do you know the process? Ah, wait, I am not sure, but I can learn. Don't close me off from all that I yearn. Comes the answer, you know there will be sacrifice. Of course, I say, I'll gladly pay the price. I do not jest. My whole life has been spent in this quest. This obviously goes way beyond the search for rhyme. It touches upon the struggles of all humankind. To touch the source, to manipulate cosmic force, to be in the niches of the highest degree, to set my spirit free, to be granted the power to wield the rod in total service to God.
Beautiful.
That's that.
Gorgeous.
Okay. And
Lovely.
the closing Icaro is todo está bien. Todo está bien. Todo está bien. Siempre bien. Todo está bien. I am never right nor wrong, just in the arms of love. Todo está bien. Todo está bien. Siempre bien. Todo está bien. I am never good nor bad, just in the arms of love. Todo está bien. Todo está bien. Siempre bien. Todo está bien. I am never lost nor found, just in the arms of love. Todo está bien. Todo está bien. Siempre bien. Todo está bien. I am never light nor dark, just in the arms of love. Todo está bien. Todo está bien. Siempre bien. Todo está bien. That's everything is good.
Oh, that's just lovely, Victoria. You've been a wonderful guest. I thank you so much for being on Cafe Esoterica Radio. Folks, you can
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's just a wonderful experience, and it was really nice meeting you and communicating with your guests and sharing with people. Or, like I said, I love to share the medicine, and if they want to contact me, they can do it through Facebook. And I said, and just like introduce where they got my name from.
that's great. And folks, if you can't find Victoria for some reason, Victoria, you know we have the Facebook group for Cafe Esoterica Radio, and you're in there now, and you can put any content in there. Any of my guests can put any of their content in there, so that if folks want to, we have over 700 members in there. So that's a nice, that's a nice way to get known as well. And so please, if you're looking to connect with Victoria, you can do it through her Facebook page, Victoria Carella. Carella is with the Carella, right? You can also contact me if you want, and you can go into the Cafe Esoterica Facebook group, which is you can't just get in there. You have to ask to join, and I'll let you in. Okay, that's how it works. And other than that, I'm going to sum everything up with my In This Metaphysical Moment, which is I wrote a little poem. It's really funny, isn't it? Because again, I'm just tuning in, and this is what comes out. So here we go. Shake that rattle. Wake up inside, cried the crow. Caw, caw. Slithering by was the snake who witnessed it all, as the laughing fox smiled, sneaking a look. Who can see into other dimensions? Asked the owl. Who? Who? While the robin alighted softly on a branch, showing off his red breast. The ancestors all walk the earth day and night, wagging their fingers at us. You are trashing the earth. Mother is not pleased. Stop. Brother whale cannot swim in his ocean, nor can sister seal. Bees buzzing around poison pesticided flowers and dropping like flies. No one here gets out alive. Send in the shaman to speak for us all. May she or he bring humanity to its knees in prayer, reverence for all living things, awareness and awake to take action, heal, become one, clean up the mess they made, and finally we can all live in peace and love. Did you like that, Victoria?
That was awesome, Shawn. That was beautiful.
I was tuning into
Thank
you. I was tuning into the show, and that's what came. So, okay, my darlings, everyone is very happy and content. And I know this is the last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to play us out with, I am a hippie from the 60s and 70s. I mean, I was a child in the 60s and I was a teenager in the 70s. And thank God I was alive during that time. And it was the best time to be alive, I must say. And for me, I don't know, because peace and love and, people laugh at it, but flower power, which is exactly what you're talking about, was really it was the prominent theme, and we wanted what we wanted, and we had a couple great leaders. Some of them were the Beatles, like John Lennon, and another was Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison was a great poet, a shaman in his own right. He claimed to be possessed by a shaman. He had a childhood incident where he was in the back seat of his parents' car and they drove past a group of Indians that were in an accident. And he literally, as a 10-year-old child, saw the spirit of this Indian leave and attach itself to him. And from that moment on, he was connected. And this is the story of Jim Morrison. All his bandmates tell this story. And when you see him up there high as a kite dancing like a shaman, this is why they think he was doing that. Whether you believe that or not doesn't matter, because he wrote a beautiful song. And some of their work is very deep and profound. And they took the title of their they took the title of their band, The Doors of Perception, by Otis Huxley, which is a book. It was very popular in the 60s. And so I'm going to play us out with a beautiful song, The Crystal Ship. And if you listen to the words, yes, there is some romance in it, but it's all about before you slip into unconsciousness. So here we go. Thank you again, Victoria, for being a guest on my show. And we'll leave you with Jim Morrison singing The Crystal Ship. And I have to mute the sound. I'm so sorry on my YouTube people, because again, it's muted anyway. Okay, there we go. Okay, here we go. Bye now, everyone. Have a great week. And we'll see you next week with Sasha Nyala. Okay, and that's it. We are out. I'm sorry this was muted on YouTube during that last break. I'm sorry. But anyway, we're done. We're finished. We had a great show with Victoria Carella, Shaman. Come back next week, folks. Same time, same place, and you will see the lovely Sasha Niella here. All the best. Have a great week. Bye for now.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.
Bye, everyone.